An NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. I'm doing a lot of government work, and those NDAs are like, you talk about this, you go to prison. But around the turn of the century, boy, doesn't that feel weird to say, celebrities started using them to keep people from running to the National Enquirer. So, for example, tonight, if I were to stand up here and say something mean about Justin Bieber, I would owe Mr. Bieber $4 million. So that is all I'm going to say about Justin Bieber tonight. I have a lot of stories from the business, but I've signed a lot of NDAs, and I don't always know what covers what. So I've decided I'm going to start telling these stories, but I'm not going to tell you who it's about. And I'm not going to give you enough clues to figure it out so they can't come after me. And after all, the story's about me anyway, right? So here goes. Big Hollywood movie star, right? Gets cast in an action film. He's gonna have to learn martial arts. He's gonna have to learn martial art weapons. He's gonna have to learn guns. He's gonna have to learn defensive driving. He's gonna have to learn how to dance. And he's gonna have to get what they call picture fit, which means not necessarily physically fit, but you gotta look good, cut. This guy's gotta lose about 30 pounds. He decides he wants to make a documentary on his journey to becoming an action star. So he hires a director who hires a bunch of people who hires me to go do sound on this documentary. So I go out to LA, they put me up in this really nice hotel for 2 weeks where I sit there and do nothing. That's not completely true. One day they called and they said, he's going to the gym! So we packed up all our gear, went down to the gym, we're ready for him, and he never showed. This guy had everything. He had talent, wealth, fame, and a great big drug habit. So somebody in his camp decided he needs to go through this Mexican ancient Indian cleanse before he begins his training, right? So we all jump onto a private jet. We fly to Mexico. We drive way the hell out in the Sonoran Desert to a resort, very nice resort. And that's when he decides he wants one last big blowout before he undergoes the cleanse. So he and his friends start a party that goes on for 36 hours. And it only stops after 36 hours because Mexico ran out of cocaine. They were literally calling people to fly it in. Now, they had asked us to shoot the party, which is a little counterintuitive because most people don't like their drug habits documented. But they were all so fucking high anyway. So I'm up for 36 hours without benefit of chemical stimulation shooting this party. And then they decide it's time for the cleanse. So we all pile into this limo. And after being up for 36 hours on my feet, I get to sit in a limo. And I start to doze a little bit. And the one thing I'm sure you know is you don't want to be the guy who falls asleep at the party. They decide the limo's too full and somebody has to go, and that somebody is me. So they pull off the side of the road and kick me out of the limo. And their reasoning is, we've only been driving for 15, 20 minutes. You can walk back. 15, 20 minutes at 70 miles an hour is a 6-hour walk. It's 4 in the morning. I'm carrying a 40-pound pack. In 2 hours, the sun's gonna be up. And by 10 o'clock, it's gonna be 110 in the shade, and there is no shade. And that's not the worst part. You wanna know what the worst part is? If you know anything about zoology, you know that reptiles are cold-blooded. So at night, they go out onto the blacktop of the highway to absorb the heat. And that includes all 6 species of venomous snakes that live in the Sonoran Desert. If I had started walking, I would have been dead in the first mile. Fortunately, you know the old phrase, I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole? I had a 10-foot pole with me, my boot pole. So I start walking down the highway, waving it in front of me like a blind man's cane. And every now and then finds something that's squishy, and then it runs off into the bush. Now at this point, it would be a fair question. Dave, what the hell does this have to do with tonight's theme? I'm getting it. It takes me 8 hours of walking to get back to the resort. By the time I get there, I am bright red. I'm dehydrated. And the guard at the gate stops me because I've got a snake skin stuck to my boot like a piece of toilet paper. Yeah. That's the sound of the snake makes. I go right to the bar. One of the producers is in there and goes, "Oh my God, man, what happened to you? Get this man a margarita." And the bartender says, "You want that straight up or on the rocks?" And I said, "Frozen."